In this video, I'll be going over the single most important lesson I've learned on my journey to a plus 65 kg weighted pull-up and the ability to perform the one-arm pull-up 4 reps. You see, people often talk about consistency being the single most important factor for making progress. And while I don't disagree, what you do if you're already consistent but still experience stagnation or even regression. Similarly, people like to talk about progressive overload, but what if, despite progressively overloading, you cannot predictably increase your performance over time? So the lesson I've had to relearn multiple times over the past years, despite staying consistent and progressively overloading, is that performance must be earned every single session. You see, whenever I've reached new heights, be that unlock my first or even a few consecutive reps of the ring muscle up, or even the one-arm pull-up for a single and then for multiple reps, I've often gotten into this mentality, this mindset, where I think that I no longer need to do the basics, or that I've got this strength, this skill locked in. But often when this has happened, my performance starts declining shortly after because I do some tweaks to my program, which usually include removing a few sort of basic movements or a few little exercises that I think I no longer need to do, that I think I'm too good to do at this point, right? And I've sat there later on then and been wondering why is this happening? Why am I suddenly losing this skill? Or not just plateauing, but stagnating, or that's the same thing, but even regressing is what I meant, right? But looking back at it now, it all makes sense. You see that what I've learned is that number one, you can't get comfortable, right? That's obvious and that's quite important to know. But also number two is that you can't skip the basics and you can't necessarily leave the basics behind. At least not if you're trying to build something truly massive in terms of your performance, right? And you might say that sure, like some exercises though, they do evolve, right? And they can be substituted. You can, for example, move from pull-ups to weighted pull-ups. And to that I say, sure, absolutely, I do agree. Some exercises can be substituted. But some movements cannot be replaced. And something I like to live by is that you're only as good as your last performance, right? Hence the title, Calluses must be earned every session, right? It matters what you do today, it matters what you did yesterday. More than that, it matters what you do every single session, right? Like if you performed well a year ago, but today you're crap, it's not that important, right? It's like sure, nice to look back at, but if you're not trying to constantly improve, then what are we doing, right? But here's the idea, right? Like if you're not improving at the basics, then are you even improving at all? Or like if you're not able to say, if you're looking to improve your pulling ability, right? If you're not improving with your weighted pulls, if you're not improving with your body weight pull-ups, are you even improving? Sure, you might say that you're targeting some different aspect. Perhaps you're climbing, perhaps you're doing something related to your finger strength, on a crimp or smaller edge, for example, related to climbing, right? Fair enough. In that case, weighted pull-ups or pull-ups wouldn't necessarily be the metric you're going for in terms of when you're tracking your improvement. But if the target is to do better pulling or better pushing, and you're not improving your weighted pull-up or your weighted dip or your overhead press or any of these lifts, are you even improving, right? We need some metric to sort of think about. And also this goes down even more fundamentally to like, are you improving at sort of different basic abilities, right? Like if you're thinking about a one-arm pull-up, are you improving, for example, with false grip or semi-false grip hang? Are you improving a unilateral one-arm hang, right? Are you improving your scapular pull-ups, unilateral scapular pull-ups, right? Are you able to do proper scapular depression and scapular retraction with a single arm? Because if these things aren't improving, then how would you improve at the skill, the wider skill in total, right? Now, remember that you are what you do and not what you say you'll do. So if you want to be an absolute unit with unmatched power and capability, you need to actually force those adaptations through every one of your workouts. Right? And you need to employ proper exercise selection. Remember the basics, right? At least those irreplaceable basics, which if removed will lead to not just performance stagnating, but possibly declining, right? There are certain attributes that for different skills, for different moves, you need to be really good at, whether it be retraction, whether it be protraction, for the shoulders, whatever have you, whether it needs to be a false grip for the rings, whether it needs to be a one-arm hang for the one-arm pull-up, right? It's like just a foundational little bit. If those things aren't improving, you'll be stuck or you'll struggle to at least improve at all, if not regress, right? Is that no sacrifice, no victory? Because these movements might be excruciatingly boring or they might be painful to do physically, mentally, whatever have you, right? But this is where the gains are made. So, if you struggle to make progress, despite being consistent and progressively overloading, ask yourself the following. Am I focusing on the right exercises? Am I leveling up with those irreplaceable basics? Or am I trying to skip ahead without the necessary foundation,
without the necessary movements in the bag. By the way, if you want to join the free community we've got going on, click the top link in the description down below. Also, second link in the description if you want to apply for free one-on-one coaching directly with me. And so with that said, the key to progressing is simply as follows. Number one, you need to go after the right exercises, and here a crucial point is that you don't leave the irreplaceable basics behind. When you're training for the ring muscle up, when you're training for the one-arm pull-up, when you're training for the handstand, when you're training for the planche or for the front lever, whatever have you, there are certain exercises that you simply cannot leave behind. When you're training for pull-ups and you want to get stronger on your pull-ups, sure, you can go from pull-ups to weighted pull-ups to heavier weighted pull-ups, and you can keep it up like that. But if you want to do something like the ring muscle up, you need to work on your false grip. If you want to do something like the one-arm pull-up, you need to work on your one-arm hanging endurance, right? You need to work on your unilateral scapular pull-ups. There are certain key things that you simply cannot move away from. And when you're thinking about those exercises in particular as well, not only do you need to have them in your workout, that's number one, right? Like go after the right exercises, but then also number two, work hard to push yourself every session, right? And as long as you meet these things, you then apply the consistency, you then apply the progressive overload, right? And you'll see great results. So with that said, keep on training, train what you love, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.